All right, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Pivot Point workshop, the career calculator to landing your dream job. So excited that you're able to join us. We want this to be collaborative and a discussion with the large group on today's call. If you could participate on the chat box, we'll have several opportunities for you to engage with us and discuss. And for those of you that are not able to participate live, please do follow along. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you to reflect and create your own pieces of the career calculator to landing your dream job. So welcome and good morning. Thanks for joining and thanks for your interest in today's workshop. A little bit about myself, if I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet. My name is Julie. Here's a picture of me if you haven't met me yet. That's my new bio headshot that I took last fall with the pretty leaves. I'm a big fan of fall and the leaves, unlike today in January where it is cold and at least the sun's out, at least here in Indiana. So that's me. I've always been a big supporter of women throughout my career, throughout my childhood. I can recall my mom always told me, Julie, you're so passionate about helping women and women in leadership. You should really do something as a job for that. I was like, oh my gosh, I went to business school. I studied business. I did corporate jobs my whole career. Like, how can you do that and actually make money at doing that? How can I make that a real job, not just a hobby? And 2 years ago, I started Pivot Point. My previous experience in corporate America really helps me prepare for this. Had the opportunity to lead teams, manage teams, and develop women, and do a lot of coaching throughout my corporate jobs and in getting my MBA as well. And so 6 years ago, I started consulting, and I've had a number of really fun experiences getting to coach women in leadership development and career development. And so that's 2 years ago, I founded Pivot Point to do just that, to help women with what I call their career game plans, to have that winning plan for future success, or to develop those key leadership skills that are needed to get to the next level in their careers. So we'll talk more about tools available through Pivot Point. Actually, nextpivotpoint.com has tons of do-it-yourself tools, including recordings like this for key topics that women are interested in, but a number of blogs and articles to support you throughout your Pivot Point. And this person here is my daughter, Jane. She is truly my essence, my purpose. As most moms, and moms on the line, I really do want her to have a life and a different set of opportunities. 20 years from now when she joins the workforce, my vision is that the pay gap, the C-suite gap, all the gaps that currently face women will not be as prevalent for her. And so I certainly hope through Pivot Point and through speaking and coaching that I can make a small difference in a world where she can be the best possible version of herself. And you can see her in her Wonder Woman gear. She loves Wonder Woman, and she's doing the power pose, which we talk about that a lot with confidence, the confident pose there. So proud of her that she did that without even any prompting in that picture on Halloween. So to tell you a little bit about Pivot Point and more about myself and how this whole thing got started, for those of you who have toyed with a book idea, it was one of those things I'd always thought of myself. As a student of women's studies and feminism, always was super passionate about getting tools and, less about the problem, more about the solution. And so I always had this idea to write a book. And one day, just kind of put pen to paper, leaving a women's leadership conference, I thought, I've had these ideas. I keep kicking them around. Why don't I do something about it, right? And what was cool about it is as soon as I started to outline the key chapters, it really started to flow nicely. It was no longer this big, massive, daunting book idea. It was really tangible pieces of an overall book. So they really were easier to write as chapters. And the 6 key chapters that I interviewed dozens of women across the country, different backgrounds, different industries, different points in their career, having experienced pivot points or approaching pivot points of career transition, they told me that the kind of 6 key pieces that we pressure tested together that were essential for women to succeed in their careers and in their leadership journeys around authenticity. So knowing yourself, right? It's now a far more popular term than it was a few years ago, which I embrace, but it really means knowing your genuine self, knowing your purpose, what I call your SWOT, your personal SWOT, which is not, as I had a woman in a workshop this week say SWAT team, and no, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it's an acronym that's often used in business for plans, but why not use it for ourselves in our plans? So knowing those things about yourself, really important. Confidence. So we do have another online workshop recording for confidence. I'm not going to speak to this too much today, but it's huge. There is a lot of data that suggests that women have less confidence than men. Some of it's a little primal due to just how our brain is wired, but there's tons of things that we can do to improve that. And once you know your authentic self, that makes it super easy to express authentic confidence. The third piece is the career game plan. So this is actually something, I've got a shorter version of white paper now on, which I'll share with you as a bonus for attending this workshop. But I've learned a lot since writing Pivot Point, and that's the reason for this workshop today, is because while it's wonderful to have this fully detailed plan, 3 years from now I want to be X, and here are my goals to get there, and outlines your purpose statement and all that good stuff. It's wonderful stuff. What if I don't even know what that is? What if I have no idea what my next step is? And for those of you on the line, I suspect you might be at that kind of crossroads where, shoot, I've been doing this for 20 years, or I've been doing this for 5 years, and I'm not into it anymore. I want to do something completely different. Or maybe I want to pivot within my industry or within my corporation, but I don't know what that pivot looks like. So that's why I designed some extra tools today that will walk you through it. It's a really cool process that I think you'll benefit from. And so in addition to the plan, this is some kind of bonus content. And then the last 3 pieces, connecting with purpose, right? Networking, having what I call your career game plan team, the people around you, the mentors, advisors, coaches that can help support you and hold you accountable. Asking for it. So negotiation is a big one. We as women negotiate less on our behalves, but we're really amazing at negotiating on others' behalves. So how do you channel that? How do we use that? And how do we ask for things intentionally? So lots of cool tools on communication there. And then lastly, leadership. So this was another online workshop we did back in December, but all about vulnerability, giving in a very genuine way. A lot of the best leaders give, not to get. And so we talk about tools and ways to inspire those around us. And a lot of that's through vulnerability-based trust. So those are the concepts. These are the key pieces of the Women in Leadership Career Success story. But let's dig into today's topic, the Career Calculator. And the first activity that I have for you that I want you to engage in that chat box. For those of you who joined late, look up at the top ribbon there under More. The first selection should be Chat. And what I'd like to hear from you in that chat box is the answer to this question. So I would like you to close your eyes. Think about your ideal dream job. I want to know what you're doing, who you're with, and how you feel. Hold that moment, that image in your mind of your ideal dream job. Perhaps it's the best day that you've experienced at work, or perhaps it's a future career that you can envision yourself. And I want to know what you're doing, who you're with, and how do you feel? So I'll pause for you to type in your thoughts in the chat box. Love to hear from as many folks as possible, and I'll politely share those back with the group. So I'll pause for a moment. Your opportunity to share with us your dream job vision. So think about that vision, your ideal dream job. Perhaps you can leverage a past successful day or a future vision. Just type in what you see. When you close your eyes, what do you see? Again, for those of you, I know quite a few of you are on the phone, but if you're able to use the chat function, you can use that through the app as well as on a desktop. So I'd love to hear. All right, we've got some participation coming in. So I shared, I'm in a team that challenges and inspires me. We're not afraid to take some risks and support each other when we feel unsure or doubtful. Cool, very cool. Thanks for sharing that. So sometimes it's about the team around us. Envision the kind of people that you like to work with. And a lot of that will suggest the kind of culture for an organization or a team that's truly compatible with you. Other thoughts? Sometimes I hear from women, they think about their best days. And a lot of times it's feeling value and purpose in the work you do, that it's truly aligned with what you're good at, what you have success with, what you love doing. Many women share with me that when they have the opportunity to help somebody with something important, that really helps them. Get another participant sharing. Thank you. Supporting a mentoring state program with career developments. I would also like to be a career sculptor. Ooh, cool. I haven't heard that one before. So a career sculptor. Awesome. So I think what you'll find is a set of tools that I'll walk you through the proven process will help you think if that is less daunting, if that's not something that's happening today. How do we connect the dots to what that means for you and what your plan for success is? So today you're going to walk away knowing your skills and wills. So I talk about these as kind of two distinct categories. So skills, these are the things you're good at. So these are the things maybe you have expertise, certification, education, experience. You've done this, demonstrated, proven performance in these skill areas. And then the second category is the wills, the things you love to do. And sometimes people mistake these as the same thing. They are not. They are very distinct things, and I want you to think about them separately. The wills are the things you're passionate about, the things that probably were a part of your vision for your best day at work or where you see your career going. These are the things that make you really happy when someone asks you to do this, or you get to do it. You don't have to do it. You get to do it on a day. You feel really good. It makes your day a success. It makes you feel good. It fills your heart. Those are the types of things that are wills. So I want you to brainstorm those separately here in a moment, but they are distinct, and it's very important that we keep those separate for now. Then we're actually going to look at the intersection of those, and we're going to craft our own ideal job description. So here's the cool thing, and we usually, when we're in a job search, whether that's inside our organization or a totally different pivot point outside our organization or industry, we go out and we see jobs available. We're like, oh yeah, I can make myself fit there. Well, we're not thinking about ourselves first, what we want. And when you flip the script and think about what you want first and what leverages your unique skills and your unique wills, you can create your own job description and map your resume to that ideal job description so that you're proactively promoting yourself as that brand to attract recruiters and your network to see you as that. So we'll walk through each one of these points, and you'll have the opportunity to participate and share. Speaking of sharing, we've got someone that also shared with us their vision, working on a design problem with engaged people solving a complicated problem and feeling inspired by the designers around me to reach deeper. Oh, that's cool. Very cool. Yeah, so again, problem solving, we're talking about teamwork and the people around us, and inspiration, which is a huge, huge thing, especially for women. That value and purpose component to our work is super huge. So I want to share a quick story with you. I did share this video in an email a couple days ago to you. Susan's one of my favorite success stories. As someone that I had the privilege to work with about a year ago, we met for coffee, and she was a banker. And she had a super strong financial background. She'd been in banking. She was really, really good at it. So she had tons of skills in this area, not so much the will. So as she shares in our quick video, I think she does a great job of explaining how unhappy she was going to work. She really did not enjoy her job, and she felt empty at the end of the day. And that left her less time for things that were important, like spending quality time with her children and her family. So she did have some cool transferable skills. So we're going to talk about that. These are things that we can leverage that might be different than what is needed in the new role, but transferable, meaning that they have application just in a different way. And so for her, that was client management. She's an excellent communicator, right? That's why she was successful as a banker, even though her heart wasn't in it. But what her real heart was her passion for helping others, particularly seniors. God love her. She was super passionate about this. She wanted to start her own senior healthcare, home care business. Not a good time in her life to do so. She has several children approaching college or in college. They just don't have the income or risk appetite at this point to start her own business. But that's her 5-year plan, now her 4-year plan. Funny how that happens, and what seems like so far away is really not. And so what she did is she said, yep, I'm going to start my own business in 5 years. But you know what I can do to get ready for that, so it's not such a huge pivot 5 years from now, huge jump really. What can I do to pivot forward towards that? And that really got her thinking. She needed to leave, her steady 9-to-5 job that she was really good at and making the kind of income to support her family. So what she did is she started networking, told as many people as possible what she was passionate about and what she was good at with client management and senior healthcare. And she met an amazing entrepreneur who had just done what she wants to do, start her own business in healthcare. And she told him what she wanted to do. And the first time he offered her a job that didn't fit, not the right package, right? It didn't meet all of her needs. And so she said, great, keep in touch. And 2 months later, he came back with the full package, actually combined 2 roles for her and gave her the salary that she was looking for. And she's working with him and learning from him every day. And she's amazingly happy now. So be thinking about that as a story for you. If you're not ready to make a huge pivot, like start your own business, for example, what could you be doing to pivot forward more closer towards that? Because Susan's story, I think, is really remarkable. You have to give her a listen. She does a better job explaining it than I do. So first question for you, your skills and wills. So remember these 2 distinct categories. What I want you to do is ask yourself these will questions first. So these probably you thought of in your vision. So channel that vision of your happy day, your happy job. And what are the tasks or goals that get you most excited? Okay, ask yourself that question. We'll get you fired up, get you excited. What are the tasks or goals that you are doing on your very best day? Okay, so write down everything that comes to mind, every single thing, just brainstorm it in the will category. Those things that get you excited, that you're motivated to do, that you feel like you get to do rather than have to do. What are your best days consist of? What are you doing? Gets you excited, motivated, makes up your best days. So that's the will list. Again, every idea is a good idea. Let that pen just free flow. Let your brain ping pong all over the place. Write it all down. Then you're going to separately brainstorm. Again, separate list. Totally new column on the sheet. What are the tasks and or goals that people continuously praise you for? So what are the things that people tell you that you're amazing, you get really good feedback on? When someone introduces you to someone else, whether it's an e-intro or in person, they're like, man, so-and-so, she's awesome at this. What is it? And write it all down, let it free flow, keep it separate from your will list. And then what are the tasks or goals that you seem to be most effective at? Right? What's easy for you? For some people, knocking out an Excel spreadsheet. Super easy. Not for me, but for other people. Write it all down. What are you really good at? I love organizing, planning. If someone's planning a vacation, I love to plan out the days for it. Those types of things would make my list. So again, 2 separate lists, skills and wills. And I want you to brainstorm all of the words possible. Okay, everything that comes to mind. What are you good at and what do you love? 2 separate lists. And once you've got your list, come and share some of them with us. I'd love to hear from you. So I'll pause for a moment while you finish your list. Next, we're going to find the intersection. So do not do anything else. Just brainstorm as many words as possible. Most people have at least 10. I would argue you could probably do 20 for each list. Don't worry about redundancy. We'll work through prioritizing them in a moment. Skills list, wills list, separate. Share in the chat box when you're ready. I'll wait a moment to restart us. I see we've had several more people join. Awesome. Remember the chat feature. If you have not joined one of my workshops before or haven't used Zoom, under the More ribbon, chat opens up a chat box. And that's where we're sharing our answers to the key activities in the orange boxes. So just go ahead and share with me. Share with the group. We can all learn from each other. Skills and wills. What do you got? And while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and share with you a sample list that I've seen from clients that I work closely with. So the kind of things that I've learned from clients throughout this experience, and part of the reason for this additional content outside of Pivot Point even, is that this is kind of a hard thing to do. We often need feedback from other people. So if you're struggling with your list, or you're not sure what else to add to your list, or your list is a little light, maybe you're not sure if it's truly your calling, like your wills should be, or your skills, like how people see you as what you're strong at, get input. So past mentors, current bosses, former bosses, leaders in your organization, peers, spouses, whoever's opinion you care about, and whoever's really, most importantly, going to be honest with you. Ask them, what do you see when you see me? What are my skills? What are the things you see me get fired up about? A lot of times people see things in ourselves that we don't see. So here's some typical things I hear from clients, just to give you maybe a jogging start here. Most women share with me things like analytical skills, leadership skills, communication skills, problem solving. That came up in someone's vision. Process improvement, developing others, brainstorming, client service, like in Susan's example. Facilitation, that's one for me. And it's one that actually is on my wills list too. I love facilitating conversations. Change management, getting to see things change for the better. Oh, good. We've got some great ones coming in over here too. So it looks like Devin's adding to the list. Skills, business analytics. And she said on the will side, helping others reach their goals. I got another participant saying skills are management, team player, networking, supporting, mentoring. Angela, you've got will, coaching, staff, developing, revising business processes, developing business strategy, team building. Devin's got skills of networking, wills of collaborating with others. Awesome. Angela's adding skills of understanding, relating to people, problem solving, developing others, strategic thinking, detail-oriented. That is not one that makes either one of my lists. I often joke with people, I've muted myself on these things before. I have paused the screen so that you didn't advance with me. Details are not my friend, but good to hear that they are for others. We balance each other out. I need people that are detail-oriented. So on the wills list I've got up here, you guys have hit a lot of these, so I'm not going to repeat it. You can see it or view it in the recording afterward. But things like being an expert, I would add a client of mine, that's very important to her, demonstrating expertise. Planning for the future, so things like strategic planning, being a leader, achieving results, asking questions is huge for me. Details, we heard that one, and finding solutions to problems. So you can see how even these things are articulated differently, and that doesn't matter. Put it in your own words. These are going to be the key phrases that we're going to talk about at the end that need to be in your resume if they're not already. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the intersection. So if you kept your list separate as instructed, please make sure so. Again, skills. What do you get good feedback on? What are you amazing at? What have you done and demonstrated expertise or competence in? Wills, passion areas, excitement areas, things that get you fired up, okay? And this little thing in the middle here, if you can see the concentric circles, the overlap is what we're looking for, okay? So what we want to know is what we're good at that we also love to do, okay? And if I can just paint a picture for you, because I can't stress this enough how separate these things are. You know, for me, I definitely have planning skills, right? I can manage a project and plan it out and set the key plan in place and activities, right? On the will side of that, not so much. You know, being a project manager did not get me excited, but being a business owner and coaching others to build their own plans is something that's exciting. So can you see how a skill and a will can be different? And that's important. So I can take my skill of planning and my will of coaching and combine it to coaching others to build plans, okay? So I want you to think about that for yourself. And that's going to be critically important for our next step in the process. So step 2 is your ideal job roles and responsibilities. So take those lists, find the intersection, okay? So what is on your skill and your will list that when combined, like in the example I just shared with you, makes a unique area for a job role or responsibility. So you think about a job description, for those of you who are familiar with them, if you haven't looked at them in a while, that's fine. They have 3 key areas, right? The role itself. So brainstorm some roles, okay? So think about project manager, business planner, expert in a certain area. Perhaps it's coaching, facilitating, managing people, whatever it is. Please write down those key roles. Then the step 2 is the responsibilities. So what are the things that person would do? Okay, so if it's a project manager, just using that example, responsible for building project plans, holding the team accountable, facilitating discussions about the plan, participating in tasks to complete the plan. Those are responsibilities. Those are tasks. Those are things that person does in that role. And then third piece is where we're going to leverage our skills and wills. So the intersection of your skills and wills, you should be circling right now, or perhaps mapping those 2 lists together. Sometimes you can combine them like I did with mine. So I want you to have at least 3 key skill and will intersections for your competencies. So again, those would be things like leadership, teamwork, collaboration, problem solving, details. What are the things, analytical skills, what are the things from a competency perspective that you can leverage your unique skills and wills? And you know what I'm going to ask you next? Be prepared to share in the chat box. We can all learn from your example. And it'll probably be a little rough at this point. I usually find the skill and will list needs a little input before you're ready for this step. But jump in, brainstorm. What's the worst that could happen? And I know it'll be rough, so just map out some roles. Think about what that person does, responsibilities, and then how would that leverage your unique skill and will combination from a competency perspective? So kind of those are the 3 key areas of most job descriptions. Go ahead and start brainstorming your ideal job description. And I'll give you a moment to participate in the chat box. So please join if you can in the chat box. I know some people are new to the discussion. Those have been participating. Welcome your thoughts. Again, it'll likely be a little bit rough right now. This process does take time, but I want you to indulge yourself. You know, you've invested this hour in yourself. See what you can come up with. What's your starting point? And again, we can all learn from that. So what are some key roles that would leverage your skills and wills? What are the responsibilities? What does that person do in that job? And then competencies. How does that leverage your unique skills and wills? And while we're waiting for people to join on the chat box, I'll go ahead and share some examples that I've heard from clients. I think that stories always help me. Thinking about one of my clients right now, actually. Oh, cool. Angela shared executing business strategy through people. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's a great way to describe responsibilities and to some degree your competency too. That skill and will match. So a client of mine has an engineering background, and she has very, very good detail-oriented skills, very, very good analytical process-oriented skills. Been doing engineering for several years. So responsibilities, right? To execute project plans, to communicate things internally to the team and to clients. She has, actual technical responsibilities for managing systems and developing tasks within the systems to get the actual work done. And from a competency perspective, that does leverage her skills, but not today on her wills. So she's actually come up with a unique job role and responsibility of being an entrepreneur. And it's a big deal for her to someday lead a business and to be a CEO responsible for a team. But she realizes that's like Susan's, it's a long-term plan, more of a 10-year plan. So with that in mind, she's actually kind of created her ideal job description around being a business manager. But her first step is going back to school to get her MBA. So you see how these things, it may seem like your ideal job is far out. You can map clear steps to get there. So it's really important that you think big with this. And one of the things that helps my clients is looking out on a resource like LinkedIn is by far, for me, my best resource for things like this. And trusting people in your network to reach out to them and think, hey, here are the things I'm good at. What kind of roles do you see this leveraging my unique skills and wills? And just be cruising around for different job websites, like Indeed is a great one. Glassdoor has some great resources. And if you can't think of your own list, leverage one that's already out there. And why don't you just borrow the bullet points and start dragging them over to these 3 key areas? Then you'd be so surprised how when you articulate it that way, the universe has a way of finding you when you know what you want. And so people do respond. Once you create your own ideal job, you'll start to see more jobs that are like that job, okay? So that's, if you're light in this area, which I suspect some people are because I'm not seeing any more on the chat, brainstorm. Go out, ask people, look at other jobs online, whether that's LinkedIn, like I said, Indeed or Glassdoor. So here's some cool quotes that I love to share that I hear from women that I've successfully managed through career transition. And they say things like, I've never taken a job that I already knew how to do. As women, sometimes we can be a little risk averse, and we think we've had to do that job before. If you think about how silly that is, like how would you know how to do a job you haven't done before? How did you know how to do your first job? Chances are you've taken jobs that you didn't know how to do before, and that's okay. So I'd encourage you to think less about, well, I've never done that before. I'd never coached before. But some wise people when I engaged in this activity saw me as a coach and started referring me to coaching positions and to coaching clients. And they saw something in me I honestly didn't see in myself. And it took some time for me to see. So be open to new things. Of course, at your pivot point, you're likely going to do something completely different than what you've done before. That's all part of it. That's okay. You'll be good at it just like you were good at something you've never done before in the past. Another one, I thought that there were so many more qualified people to do this job. I found that I am the best when doing what I love to do. I love this one. So here's the other thing. The confidence thing comes into play. Oh, well, so-and-so's been doing that for so long. I could never do a job like that. I worked with a leader in nonprofit that was an amazing executive director. And she wanted to pivot out of nonprofit into more for-profit work. And she couldn't see herself in the for-profit world because so many other people have been working in for-profit. And then when we started to list her skills and wills, and most importantly, her transferable skills, it was a no-brainer that she should consider project management and product management roles. in the for-profit world. It was very, very similar to the work she'd done before, and it put a different spin on it, which gave her more value and purpose in what she did. And so she loved doing it. I can only make others as happy around me as I am myself. Okay, play that one again. So as women, we tend to deprioritize self-development. So the fact that you guys are on this webinar is awesome. I'm very thrilled that you're choosing to invest an hour in your own professional development. But I'll tell you, a lot of women don't do that. And if you walk away with your skills and wills and your nuggets of your ideal job description and thoughts for your resume and tweaks for your resume, which we'll go through next, awesome. Please, please do not let that sit on the shelf. Activate it. Do something with what you've done for yourself today, because you've invested this time in yourself. And the thing that I think helps me bring inner peace towards things that I can see myself as maybe being selfish is reminding myself, if I'm not happy, how the heck am I supposed to make everyone else happy around me? I have to be happy. I have to make myself happy first to be good for everyone else. And that means spending some time on self-reflection, spending some time reading some books, getting to know myself better, getting to learn new skills. So please, please remember that next time you question being selfish or doing something for yourself. Hey, you got to make you happy to be happy for everybody else. So one of my other favorite stories, I'm going to share with you another pivotal woman, and then we'll engage you in another discussion here. So Lynn is an awesome woman I met a few months ago at a leadership workshop I facilitated. So Zumba instructor by night, HR leader by day. And she worked in the hospitality industry. She was actually at a golf course here locally in Indianapolis. And within the last year, she discovered a passion of hers, so a will, for flight attending. She went through this exercise. So we got on the phone together and we brainstormed her skills and wills. And then she went ahead and matched that to all the things she was seeing in the job descriptions for flight attendants. She researched another key piece before tweaking her resume. She spent a little extra time researching airlines. There's only 5 big ones and some of the smaller players. Their core values. So Delta Airlines came to the top of her list. They have key core values around service and safety, and it's very clear what they stand for. Same with Southwest. And so she actually started mapping her skills and wills to their core values. Before she even started updating her resume, she took a step back and thought about, what does she bring to the table and what do they want? And then she rewrote her resume to really speak to those values in a unique way that leveraged her skills and wills. So, a week later, she got dinged from Delta, which is okay. She said, but guess what? I've got 4 more interviews scheduled with 4 other airlines. Right? And she's in the process of participating in the interview process, flying out to all sorts of cool places. And she's so many steps closer to her pivot point, to her successful pivot point, but it's going to take some time. So I share this story as a lesson in patience. When she got that first ding, she was really upset. And then guess what happened? 4 more came. And what she's been doing is really practicing using the STAR method, or you can use the CAR method for interviewing, essentially outlining the situation, the tasks, the actions that you took, and the results. Most importantly, most people forget about that. But what she did is she took everything from her skills and wills list that intersect what the company she's interviewing with care about, and she creates stories of a time when, she helped someone with a safety incident, stories of a time when she went above and beyond in a client experience. Because those are the things that are important from a value perspective in that industry. And so can you see how she was able to successfully pivot, talk about herself in a completely new way that leveraged all of her transferable skills and wills? And so while she has not landed in her dream job yet, she's really, really close. I suspect I'll hear from her in the coming weeks when I asked her to use her story, and then she was beaming about being able to help and share her experience with others. So I hope that's something that motivates you as well for your pivot point. It can feel daunting, it can feel far away, but we're taking conscious steps to it every day. So here's the last step: matching your resume. So what you're going to do is take a look at that ideal job description, right? Those 3 areas. What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? How does that match your unique skills and wills? Okay, so if you've got your nuggets there, you've got a starting point there. We're now going to map it over to your resume. So your resume usually has things on it I consider, your accomplishments, right? You want to tell people about your experiences. Everyone knows how resumes lined up. But what you want to do to tweak your resume is you want to focus on your transferable skills. So like Len did, right? Client service, safety, those were things that were important, right? Roles and responsibilities. So then she mapped those to include them as transferable skills with her experiences on her resume. And talk about results, right? If there's anything that I see in resumes that really is an opportunity for improvement, it's speaking to specific results that you've achieved with your experiences through your skills because you were a part of the team, because you led this project that contributed to X dollars, X increase, X decrease, whatever it is, get a number on there, okay? And it's okay to estimate that. If you can speak to it and tell a story about it, it belongs on your resume. So that's why it goes full circle back to your job description, right? What I want you to do, almost side by side, just like this, I've tried to create in this visual, have your ideal job description laid out, right? Maybe you've borrowed nuggets from different websites. Maybe you've just brainstormed it like today. Have that outlined, and right beside it, have your resume. And I want you to circle the things on it that are in the job description that are in your resume. And if there's a bullet point that has nothing to do with that job description, delete it. It's okay to have different versions of your resume. If you've got several roles on the table at this point, you might consider having a couple different versions of your resume. I'd encourage you not to get beyond 3. Can seem a little schizophrenic after that. You want to be clear, what you want. A client of mine, Lisa, that just went through this process, she's interviewing and about to get an offer from a company, but she put together her ideal job description, and lo and behold, the universe found her, and it's exactly what she wants, leading a sales team and developing, being a support role on the sales team through sales development. And she's amazing at that. It was everything that was on her ideal job description. So when she sat down in the interview with her resume that was nicely mapped to that job description, showing the skills and wills that met the unique needs of that position, she told the interviewer, hey, I've really taken some time to think about what I want. Here are the things that is required in this job. Here are the things I've done like this before. I haven't done this exact job before, right? But here are the things that I've done like this. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. The interviewer was floored. Visibly she could see, was surprised because so few candidates put time into that. When I've interviewed people on my team before and they said, this is my ideal job, I looked through this whole list in your job description, and this is exactly what I want. You're hired. Because at the end of the day, we want people that want to do what we need them to do, right? And that's an interesting point with the skills and wills. Skills you can train. It is important to show transferable skills and similar skills that you've demonstrated in the past, but they're trainable. Most hiring managers today are smart enough to know that. The will piece, the passion piece, you can't train that. That's something you come to the table with, or maybe you develop over time, with a specific industry or set of experiences, but you got to have that will. And when you can show people this is really what you want, they respond to it in a very positive way. All right, so what I want you to think about the tweaks to your resume. Thinking about what we've been discussing today with that ideal job description, roles and responsibilities list in hand, I want you to look at that and brainstorm your experiences, your transferable skills, and map that to your dream job. Okay, so if you have a copy of your resume, you can pull it up, or you can think about the kind of things that are on it. I want you to think about what's in your job description and what moves over to your resume. Highlight those key areas. Go back to your skills and wills list, the intersection of that. What are the things that you need to make sure are absolutely 100% on your resume? Maybe there are things to emphasize that are already there. Maybe it's things that are missing. Maybe there are bullet points on there that are completely irrelevant that you just include because it sounds good. If it's not what you want and it doesn't map to your ideal job description, it needs to go. Again, you may have different versions of this. You may have an overall version and, version 1 for project management, version 2 for starting your own business, whatever it may be. But if you have different options on the table for those roles, tweak it to represent what you want to do. And I'd like to hear thoughts. I don't think everyone's going to have their resume tweaked and uploaded here in the chat box, but thoughts that you're going to consider, tweaks you're going to consider for your resume based on this discussion. So I'll go ahead and pause. Go ahead and share your thoughts. What are some tweaks you're going to make to your resume as a result of what you've learned today? So again, based on what you've learned today, the things you've got on your wills list, your ideal job description list, what are the tweaks you're going to make to your resume as a result of what you've learned? And go ahead and just type in the chat box. Maybe it's to emphasize a certain skill that's not on there now. Maybe it's to de-emphasize or remove something that has nothing to do with what's next for you. And while you're doing that, I have another story to share while we're waiting for people to chime in. This is one of my favorites. So a lot of people ask me like, well, I don't want to, and you may be thinking this when you even put this on your event on your calendar, I don't want my boss to know that I'm looking for another job. Well, you don't have to, making a pivot point doesn't require you to leave your job or your organization. It can be just a pivot within your organization to a different role. So I'd love for you guys to meet Marla. She's a fantastic client of mine. We just had such an amazing experience working together. And she had an interesting story. So about a year ago, we started working together, and she worked for a nonprofit here locally, strong skills in grant writing and strategic planning. So she was doing a lot of hands-on work. She had managed a small team, and she really had a passion for leading teams and managing people. And what was interesting about that is, like a lot of young leaders, didn't have the tools, didn't have the experience leading or managing team. And as somebody that was an amazing individual contributor in grant writing and strategic planning and could execute like nobody's business and knew her clients well and knew what they needed to do, she often jumped in and just did the work for her team when they had a problem. And that's not what her team needed. They wanted her coaching. They wanted her to facilitate their ideas, her teaching, her mentorship. And so what we did is we went through some 360 feedback and got that information from her team and from her clients and from her manager, and developed a plan to build those leadership skills. And it was around 3 key areas: around composure, vulnerability, and being inclusive. And what was cool about that is we met together and brainstormed and built out the development tools that for each one of those key areas for composure, vulnerability, and being inclusive. She evolved as a leader, right before our eyes. So she was actually, as a result of knowing what she wanted to manage teams and people and be a people manager, she was promoted to director of strategy and community development, and now has a team that she's managing, developing strategy and community development tools for a local organization. So really cool story about how your pivot point, knowing what you want, and then how you can build the skills to get there. Within 6 months, she managed that successful pivot point, just with really getting some feedback from the people that care about her and wanted her to be better, and some one-on-one coaching to kind of boost her skills and give her access to resources she just didn't have experience or exposure to. Right. So I love sharing that story. I think we can all benefit. And feel free to join on the chat if you've got ideas for resume tweaks or questions you might be having at this point. I'd love to hear from you. And while you're doing that, one thing I'd like to conclude with, again, an hour of your life nearly has gone by. I want to make sure that this investment pays off for you. So individually, reflect on what you've learned today and prioritize one thing in capital letters that you will commit to. Remember that vision that you had of your dream job at the beginning of our time together? Based on what you've learned today, how does that help you emphasize or prioritize one thing that you will commit to? And again, be prepared to share that in the chat box. Perhaps it's something like tweaking your resume. Perhaps it is getting feedback on your skills and wills. Perhaps it is researching ideal jobs on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or Indeed. Whatever it is, what are you going to do as a result of what you did, what you learned today? Perhaps it's reflecting, really thinking about the areas that you had and taking one next step towards them. Again, with all the stories I've shared with you today, I think the common element to them is a pivot point doesn't happen overnight. But when you have a plan and you know what you want, small pivots happen and you get closer to that big pivot point, landing that dream job. I think the reason this topic has so much interest, but also so much fear, is because we imagine ourselves doing something completely different that requires us to move or go back to school or, make some serious investment of time or resources. Hey, break it down into some baby steps. And that's your one thing. What's your first step? All right, I've got some participation in the chat box, reflecting. And maybe that's a daily goal. I'm going to reflect on this daily. See where it goes. I'd encourage you with any goal to set a timeline and a measurement in place with it. So if it is reflecting, how and when will you reflect? What does that mean? I just started journaling each morning. I write down 3 things I'm thankful for and 3 things I'm going to do that day in a positive affirmation. And the days that I do it, because there's some days I don't, when I don't reflect, the day is different. And so finding time for reflection and silent time, been doing some guided meditations too, very, very powerful. So I think that's a very tangible takeaway. Take what you learned today, reflect on it, put it somewhere visual where you can see it often. And we've just got a few moments left, so I want to be sure to share some other tools and resources with you guys. Oh, perfect. Got another, Rachel's got in the chat. Creating a resume that isn't generic, paying attention to job descriptions that I'm excited about, and tailoring my resume or resumes. I love it. Yeah, great. That's very specific, right? The resume piece. And I think that's very tangible, right? And that's something that you can share with others. I encourage you to involve other people in your successful pivot point. People want to help you. Let them help you. Sometimes as women, we struggle with that. People want to help. Let them. And if, other than pivot point, which is a great guide to go through all 6 elements of the planning phase, what I'd also encourage you, a new book that I referenced in my blog post, I'll send you guys a link following this, called Now What by Laura Fortang. Very, very good book on this same kind of exercise, 90-day plan to kind of build your dream job or kind of dream life. It's kind of a big one. But one of the chapters early on that I just love is writing down your life story. So I didn't include that in today's workshop, but honestly, it's a very powerful exercise I'm starting to get into with my clients, of writing down your life story and your key areas at 0 to 5 years, 5 to 15, and so on, and kind of chunking it with some bullet points of these are the things that happened, here's how I felt. You would be amazed. I mean, if you're really struggling with this, you would be amazed by how much comes out in your life story of the things that you're genuinely good at and interested in. So if you struggled with any of these key areas and still are leaving confused, I highly recommend that read. And probably to get it as like a good old-fashioned hard book. I listened to it and I ended up ordering it to have the physical copy because there's so many opportunities to take notes and practice the activities. But just in case you're still confused, I offer that up as a wonderful resource. And I do not know Laura, although I wish I did, so I'm not benefiting from that at all. And then here's another cool set of offerings. We just came out with a pivot point. So we did some really cool research and have a proprietary brand spanking new career assessment that I am just starting to spread the word on. So you guys get the initial offer, which is priced at only $185. What you get in that is a DISC assessment. So for anyone that's familiar with everything DISC, wonderful tool to know more about your communication style, what you're good at, those skills and wills. And then what we did is we bolted on a proprietary assessment of 21 key areas to determine the best fit for you in your dream job. And it includes a personalized coaching session. So it's a heck of a deal. Special offer for those that are on today. If you just want to put yes, you're interested in the chat box, I'll follow up with you and we can get that started. But essentially, there's 12 key job areas. So for that roles part, if you struggled, I've mapped them all to things with specific information about you that maps to key roles that you'd likely be a really good fit for. With a wonderful DISC assessment that's a 20-page report that people take it. If you haven't taken it before, they look at it, they're like, oh my gosh, how does this thing know me so well? So just type yes if you're interested. I'll follow up with you. We can get it started. The other option is what I did with the story about Marla, the leadership assessment. So if you want to take your career to the next level from a leadership perspective, this is a tool, same price point, and you get actually that really cool value of the 360 feedback using a proven tool from Wiley Company called the 363. And so we will facilitate feedback from peers, mentors, managers, whoever you want, you get to pick. And then it has a customized report with those 3 key areas that you can build out skills with a personal coaching session to talk about what that means for you and your plan for leadership success. So all you have to do is type yes in the chat box if you're interested. If you want to think about it, I'll send an email to schedule a strategy session with me following. We can talk about it more in more detail. And all the details are at nextpivotpoint.com. There you can check out the videos I referenced today with past workshops. You can see the future workshops we have. Our next workshop is on conflict management, demanding debate, and it'll be a very fun topic that I know as women and as leaders we really wrestle with. So that one will be in April. We actually have our whole suite of online workshops available on the website now through December. So we'll have one every other month. You're welcome to attend, spread the good word with those you care about. Again, lots of great resources to manage your pivot point, land your dream job at nextpivotpoint.com. You can either start with assessments, hire me as your coach, or work with your organization for workshops just like this. So I've enjoyed having you today. It is fantastic to hear all of the wonderful successes that you've had in your pivot point, and I wish you a successful future pivot point. Have a good afternoon.